Good evening. Uh, let's discuss what is intervention. This is something very important topic I think we need to discuss about because I find a lot of misunderstanding towards us, which I need to clear. Okay? What we need to clear. Now, the word itself, intervention means what? Okay. Uh, to understand intervention, let's first try to understand when we talk about neurodiversity, okay, what exactly is that? Because neurodiversity is something where a child cannot stimulate properly, nor the child can, you know, engage into things because of the sensory issues. They have meltdowns, they have inappropriate behavior. Sometimes we find it difficult that they don't understand. So a lot of that is there. So before I head on to intervention, I want to mention one thing. When you send your child across to schools, what is that goes wrong? Why a child cannot sit in a class? Why a child uh, finds it difficult to sit in a class, to follow instruction? Lot of issues are there, right? So these issues needs to be tackled even before you send your child across to any school. Why? Because when we say our children have problem, then it's a must thing you should help the child with, right? Like you're sending your child to a school, but the child doesn't know what they need to follow there, right? The child who's happy in his home, who's going around the way he wants, and suddenly he's put into a system where he doesn't know what he's supposed to do. He doesn't understand who is this lady uh, who's there I am supposed to follow. Okay, it's difficult for them. It's really difficult. So, what has gone wrong there? So, intervention when we talk about is exactly this. First, let me start with early intervention. Whom we give early intervention to? Small kids. When their diagnosis has happened and they are on the verge of developing cognitive level. So those are the children who are apt for intervention. Now, intervention is about integrated therapies, but most important in early intervention are few things. One is the child is getting proper kind of toilet training, waiting, independent skills, which are more important. Then comes academics. If the child doesn't understand his own body, the child doesn't understand his needs, by going to school, just mixing with peer group will not help. Thus, intervention is something related with socio-academics. What is social and academics? Everything can be taught through intervention. So if parents think that academics achievement is everything for an individual, even in case of a neurotypical child, no, it isn't like that. Okay? Then you are heading towards a disaster. Because if you don't teach a child how they are going to cope up in a normal school, so it's very important that they learn this. Okay. So intervention, what exactly is that? In intervention, you're supposed to Okay, in intervention, first thing, it cannot start arbitrarily. For intervention, there is a lot of things which comes into account. The first thing is collection of data. What this data is all about. Data is where you collect information from parents and most of it from the child itself. You got to get down and assess the child and find his current level. Whatever you're planning to teach should have adequate amount of prerequisite and concept built up. Otherwise, teaching will be difficult. If the child doesn't have prerequisites to particular skill, it will be really not there. So it becomes very difficult for that child to work on. Not there. So it becomes so the thing what you need to do is where you have to make a what you need assessed program. Where now this assessed program where you evaluate and create a strategy, a plan, and then hands-on you start with the child on tabletop activity. This tabletop activity is related with intervention. In this tabletop activity, whatever you want to teach your child, you bring it on it. And once you bring it on it, and then you start generalizing it. Okay. So what is intervention? Basically, intervention is bridging the gap to mainstreaming. Like a child is finding difficult in certain areas. Any child can feel that. So you break down that complex studies into a simpler context to make your child understand. That is intervention. But intervention is something which is very misunderstood in our special education field across India. Parents are not explained how it is done. Parents are not given an idea about how it's not done. I think every therapist and every parent should work hand in hand to understand what is intervention, how it should be given. Because if you don't do that, it becomes really difficult for a parent to understand. And of course, if the parent is given an understanding, it works uh, really wonderfully. So the thing is, now more to it, how you go about it. So like I said, you collect data and then you collect prerequisite skills. But actually intervention is started with identification of a thing. Most of the time we try to teach a child what they don't know. So something complex you start with. Most of the special educators use flashcard. But children with neurodiversity actually finds it easier to learn with objects, 3D things. Then you graduate to 2D things. That's a flashcard. So if the child identifies objects, then use their flashcards to make them learn. And you'll be amazed how nicely and how fast they can learn. Okay, so this is all about intervention. Now, early intervention is a term a lot of people have heard about. So I'm going to speak about that also. In most cases, a lot of people will have different kind of argument. Like before 3 years, you don't know there is neurodiversity and all. My child looks great, nice, he's intelligent, he can grasp a lot of things. And if the child speaks, so you don't tend to understand more. So what happens there? It's always good to start as early intervention. Your child has a diagnosis or not is an immaterial thing. You know there are red flags. You know there are inappropriate ways of learning. He's not able to grasp what is being taught in school. So why not start with it? And it has been, I have seen with my own eyes when I worked with many children, little bit of early intervention actually helps them to adapt to normal neurotypical schools. And it's not coming out of diagnosis. A lot of people think, oh, I did an early intervention and my child came out of diagnosis. It doesn't happen that way. It just means the child had a better coping strategy. Child could understand the environment he has been sent to. So early intervention works as a miracle in most of the children. So there is no harm. Sometimes if you give right kind of help to your child, they definitely develop for the best thing. So better concentrate in that. Early intervention. And one more thing, I keep hearing this. Across India, there are hardly any school which do parent training. No, insist on it. Insist on parent training. Insist on learning. You're paying for it. You learn. Go and watch how we are working. Any therapist, if she's honest, he's honest, will help you understand what they are working through. And believe me, once you start working in the development progress, it will progress. The therapist and the parent, both of them needs to work together. And this is a wrong ideology. If you think you're uneducated or you're not that much educated, then you cannot help your child. That's wrong. You as a parent are the best therapist. We therapists are medium. We're going to help you. We are supposed to help you understand and develop program. So once again, I'm coming back to this. If you learn, if you get trained, if you learn the whole aspect of it from 3 to 6 months, you give effort, believe me, your child will be on much, much, much better platform. So let's think about this. Please go about it and understand that intervention is must, even if, and it is based on some principles of learning. Okay. If you go into psychology, you will see there are some parameters, developmental milestones for every child to learn. It's just following that. ABA approach is one of the best. Float time is best. Sunrise is best. These are much more evidence based, much more scientific, and it's not very difficult. See, most of the time, parents don't understand ABA. They think my child will become robotic. It's not like that. ABA mixed with float time and sunrise actually helps our children. They understand better, they learn better. What is our priority? Our priority is to make our children learn, right? So if it's our priority to make them learn, then little bit more hard work. If the hard work helps our children, don't you think that's something better to do? Isn't it? So the thing is, advisable is, don't think your child to be different. Think your child to be at par with anyone. For me, child with is not with any kind of disability. Yes, there are roadblocks. And if we work on deviations, these children I consider to be deviated from developmental milestones. So the easiest thing is work on those developmental delays. If you work on those developmental delays, you will find that our children can learn a lot. Everyone has challenges. What do you think? Normal neurotypical people don't have challenges. Everybody is outshining everyone. No, it's not so. See, the problem is not with our children. Please understand this. The problem is not with our children. The problem is the society doesn't know how to play its role. The community doesn't know what to do. When you send to a school, good, send your child to a school. But the school, if not structured for inclusion, then it becomes a question, isn't it? A school should know how to intervene for a special child. That's more important. Excuse me. So if that doesn't happen, then you have a challenge. And please, intervention is, like I said, bridging the gap. Intervention is to help your child. Intervention means you simplify things to make the child learn and then actually get into mainstream. But it doesn't mean that society doesn't have a role to play. Absolutely, society itself has a bigger role to play, the support and security. We'll talk about that later, how society needs to be awakened and advocated to create platform. But my thing is, intervention is must, come what may. If you think something is going wrong with your child, he's not able to cope up, please acknowledge that. That is acceptance. If you don't do intervention, the problem will not be right at that moment. When they hit puberty, when they cross the age of 11, 12, if you don't intervene your child, all hell will break loose. Believe me, it happens. Me being in this disability field for a very long time, it's nearing to 2 decades, I found most of these parents call me up, even as good as 5 years old. They want residential setup, they want boarding setup for their children because they're not able to handle the behavior. Handling behavior is not that difficult. It needs intervention. Sitting habit, waiting tolerance, food grabbing needs intervention. And it's possible after intervention. If you don't work on it, no one can. But then, because we don't work hard, we don't teach our children get the wrong narrative, right? People come to tend to understand that this is the nature of autism. No, it is not. Our children are learning something wrong, we are responsible. The society is responsible, the parents are responsible, not the child. A lot of people say children on spectrum are aggressive. Yes, because we have made that narrative. They are not. I can prove it. I will prove you. That if you give love, you get love. If you hit a child, you get hit back. Simple as that. Stop hitting your child. Stop scolding your child. If your child is not learning, then something is wrong in teaching, not in the child. It's always a way of teaching. If a teacher complains that child is not able to do, believe me, the teacher is wrong. The teacher doesn't know how to. So it's always about us, not about our children. They learn something wrong because we taught it wrong. That's the way it is. So please think about early intervention. Do plan out. If you don't understand, enroll into a parent empowerment program and learn for yourself. I'm starting a very short course. I used to do a long course for special education, but 6 months training is strenuous for me too. So I'm trying to reduce it to a couple of months. I hope that helps you people, because skill training helps you all. A lot of people have joined. 11th batch is going on. I think my dream to empower parents is coming as reality, which I really wanted to. My all programs are for parents. I don't believe in any other thing. I think Parents need to know. Parents are the best one. If they understand, they work with me or any therapist, children definitely have achievement. So early intervention, how you go about it? First, assessment to understand current levels. Two, a basic evaluation strategy and plan A and plan B. Okay, this is something, and then the process you're going to work on. Now, what are the things involved in intervention? Intervention involves a lot of things. If the child is not able to write, you have to think where the problem is. You have to evaluate to understand, does he have fine motor issues? Or is receptively he is getting everything? Because if he is not receptive, he cannot express. For language and writing, same issues. Theory of mind problem, the cognition doesn't improve, so they have difficulty in language plus writing. So you have to work on cognition level. You have to work through ABA, and you'll be amazed how much they can gain. That's one of the things. Suppose a child cannot be toilet trained. So you need structure there, the teach method structure. Structure is something which makes our children independent. We are also like that. We are also dependent on structure. So after this evaluations, creating a strategy and making a plan, use structure, very neat and clean things, helps our children understand. There is no harm in using text. There is no harm in using technology. And our children are fast learner if they use technology. Parents are still not there. They don't understand the importance of technology. Through technology, their learning can be immensely gratified. So think about it. So early intervention, don't forget, the child is no different, is only delayed on developmental milestones. Work on them. If you work on them, it will be one of the best. So that there it goes. Now I'll come back in Hindi and Bengali too. Thank you.